Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Beth. I'm your presenter for today, and I'm excited to be here on behalf of Insight Management Consulting. Welcome to Be a Superhero at Work, Engaged, Empowered, and Energized. I hope you'll leave this presentation today really feeling engaged, empowered, and energized, not only in your job, but also to inspire your teams and those you work with to meet their full potential. So you'll see, you should see on your screen that there is a poll open. It's going to be open for 7 minutes. If you could just take a moment as I go through some of these introductory slides to answer these questions, it will help us guide the presentation today and understand what your needs really are. So again, thanks for joining me this afternoon, and I'm excited to share with you about employee engagement. So a little bit about who Insight Management Consulting is. We're an organization and leadership development firm located in Crofton, Maryland, and we exist to help individuals and organizations make positive, sustainable change. We do that through speaking, training, coaching, and consulting. For many years, Paul McMurray, our owner, owns a Vital Smarts franchise in the Baltimore, Washington region. You may be familiar with Crucial Conversations, Crucial Accountability. We have trained trainers all over the world to teach those programs in their companies and organizations. As a result of that, we've had the opportunity to listen in on many dicey conversations around tables in our training rooms where people are sharing their situations at work. And as a result of that, Paul saw an opportunity to introduce leadership development and culture change. So we have now added Personified Leadership, a leadership development program to our suite of products, as well as programs from the Culture Works, of which What Motivates Me is one, and that's the program we're going to talk about today. When was the last time you were really excited about your work, like this excited, just couldn't wait to get up and go to work on Monday morning? Well, I want to introduce you to my Marvel character, because when we're working within our motivators, we'll marvel at the possibilities. We'll be engaged, empowered, and energized at work. So I resonate with Wonder Woman. And the reason I resonate with her is because she's fast, strong, and agile, and that's what I want to be in everything I do. She's also a masterful strategist. She fights not with her fists or with firepower, but she fights with love, and she stands for justice and peace. Her arsenal of weapons includes a lasso of truth, a pair of indestructible bracelets, and a tiara that protects her mind. Now, the lasso of truth compels all who come in contact with it to tell the absolute truth. And the only time it doesn't work is when she doesn't believe in herself. And so it is with us. If we want to be engaged in our jobs, we need to believe in who we are and take up the lasso of truth. She also has these indestructible bracelets. And if you remember, she holds them out and they absorb the impact of incoming attacks. So as individuals and leaders, we can use our indestructible bracelets and keep people who are toxic and want to prevent us from reaching our goals. If we hold out our arms, we can keep them at arm's length and keep them away from us. And then she has this tiara that she uses to prevent the telepathic attacks that come her way. Those psychological attacks. You know, 90% of what we tell ourselves about ourselves is negative. So like Wonder Woman, we can put on our projectile tiara and deflect those negative thoughts that come our way with positive thoughts. And not only can we do that for ourselves, but sometimes we have to do that for those who report to us. Sometimes people don't believe in themselves and they need somebody to hold out the lasso of truth for them. Sometimes they need us to hold out our indestructible bracelets and keep toxic people at a distance. And sometimes we just need to be the ones who feed them with with positive thoughts. So Wonder Woman is my Marvel character. But who I am in real life is Beth Rudy. I live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and no, I'm not Amish. But every year, I freeze 50 to 60 dozen ears of corn by blanching it in my dishwasher. Yes, I know you're thinking, what? Is she crazy? It's true. So I live in the midst of cornfields of Lancaster County, and we have an abundance of corn here, and my family loves fresh cut corn in the wintertime. So every year, my friend and I blanch corn for cutting it off the cob in the dishwasher. It's hot water, right? It's steam, right? So that's a Marvel idea, isn't it? So that's about me. As my number one motivator is family, and I am the wife of Captain Safety. He's the guy you see in the blue plaid shirt. We've been married for 31 years, and we have these two wonderful young adult sons. And when they were little, the youngest is the guy on the right. When he was very small, I decided to leave my career and stay at home. And I joined with a direct selling company, and I got some really good sales experience. I was in top sales, top recruiting. So when he was ready to start school full-time, I was very fortunate to land a job share position with Pearson, the world's largest education publishing company. And that job just evolved with my kids. It eventually, my division at Pearson was spun out into Scantron, where I sold survey research to some of the largest research institutions here on the East Coast. Then my division at Scantron was spun into Harlan Clark, the world's largest check printing company. And when my youngest son was graduating from high school, I was ready to graduate too. I was ready to move on and do something different. So as my kids were growing, I was growing and learning, and I joined Toastmasters. I wanted to be a writer and a speaker. So my writing coach suggested that I join Toastmasters, and I did, and I went all the way to the top with Toastmasters. And in 2012, when my youngest son was graduating from high school, I just wanted to be a speaker. I just wanted to be a speaker and a writer, and I had the opportunity to take a voluntary severance package. And I walked away from a six-figure income to pursue a job I would love, and to just use all of my resources wisely, so that when I finish my life, that I'll have used everything I've been given well and lived fully and to my fullest potential. That's when, and during that time, Paul McMurray of Insight Management found me, and I had worked with his brother at Scantron, and he said, Beth, will you come work for me? I need some sales support. And I said, Paul, I'm done selling. I'm not interested in selling. And they convinced me to come see one of these classes, Crucial Conversations, and I saw it and I loved it. And so I agreed to work with him on a temporary basis to just try it because I was ready to get back to work. I needed some income. And I did this calling and selling by making phone calls, and I just felt sick in my stomach. I was like, this is not what I want to do with my life. This is not a good use of my talent. I'm not doing this. So Paul just kept saying, well, what's it going to take for me to hire you? And I said, I want to be a speaker. I want to be a writer, and I'll sell my way. If I can be out in front of people, if I can be speaking, if I can be writing for your blog and doing the things I love, I'll work for you. So Paul basically allowed me to sculpt my job, and that's why I love telling my story. I know it inspires many people because I come in contact with so many people. And so I just want to inspire you today to just really look within yourself and find out what truly jazzes you. So I hope that I can somehow inspire you through this presentation to live to your fullest potential. So one of my mottos in life is life is too short for shoes that hurt your feet, friends that make you feel bad about yourself, and jobs that crush your soul. Take a chance, make a change. The time is now. See, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, so why waste your life? in a job that's unfulfilling to you. Now, maybe you're in a job that you absolutely love, as I am today. So what I want to do today is I want to help you understand individual motivators so that you can do more of what you love and less of what frustrates you. And then, if you are in a job that you love, then we can move on and we can help people develop other people. You don't have to be a boss or a manager to develop other people. So many people spoke into my life over the years who weren't my manager or my boss that I didn't report to. Just so many people helped me to believe in myself. And really, they're the ones who enable me to do more of what I love. So I want to inspire you to develop your people, and so that you can help them do more of what they love. And then finally, just to be a superhero at work. So that's where we're going today. Now, maybe Wonder Woman doesn't resonate with you, but I want to talk for a moment about Luke Skywalker and the hero's journey, because really, at the time, I didn't know that that's what I was on, but it really is where I was. The hero's journey begins with a call to adventure. The first incident on a dangerous path that will separate us, Luke, from his ordinary life, his home, his family, is catapulted into this unfamiliar world of danger and excitement, and those who love him try to prevent him from leaving. Figuratively, if you want to use the Wonder Woman analogy, he needs to put on his indestructible bracelets and keep those toxic people at arm's length. You see, we're called into something greater. And so many of us are just stuck where we are because we don't have the courage, or we have these negative voices telling us we can't move on, we can't step out into the unfamiliar. But what happens? He meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, who mentors him and equips him with the skills and the courage he needs to take on the challenge. And then with his newfound Jedi skills, this champion, Obi-Wan Kenobi, cheering him on, and courage, he steps across the threshold into the unknown. And so we can do that, and we can do that for ourselves. We can do that for others. We can be the Obi-Wan Kenobi to other people if we've embarked on our own hero's journey. So then, of course, along the way, he meets all kinds of opposition around every turn. His champions are helping him to stay focused on his goals. But eventually, he comes to a place where he has to let go. He has to go on his own. And at this point, he's fully motivated. He's empowered, he's energized, he's equipped to change the world. And in the end, he's recognized for his deeds and valor, and he receives that sword as his reward. His life is transformed by the whole experience, and the cycle starts again. So whether it's Wonder Woman, Luke Skywalker, or any other superhero, they all overcome obstacles, believe in their superpower, keep the naysayers at a distance, deflect the negative self-talk, never give up, do great things, and then help others who are just starting their journey. Do what you love, help others do what they love, recognize and reward good deeds, and you will be a superhero at work. So about the program, What Motivates Me, that we're going to talk about today, you may be familiar with Adrian Gostick and Chester Elton. They are best-selling authors of the books The Carrot Principle and All In. The Carrot Principle has to do with rewards and recognition. All In has to do with culture change and establishing a culture of belief and driving big results. Well, they collected data for more than 20 years after working with individuals and organizations on those two books, and discovered that a missing piece was engagement. And so they just recently published What Motivates Me. Their books have been sold in all over the world, over 1 million copies in 30 different languages.
Hi, I'm Chester Elton.
And I'm Adrian Gostick. You know, over the last 20 years, we've surveyed more than 850,000 working adults to understand what drives employee engagement. First, the good news. There are plenty of people who love what they do. We found them in every organization in every country we studied. They come to work motivated. They give their all. But unfortunately, there's bad news too. There are plenty of talented, smart people who are just going through the motions. They know they're not as motivated as they could be day to day, while some are actually demotivated. That's not good for those individuals, and it's certainly not good for their managers or their organizations.
What's the difference? Those who are most engaged have aligned more of their work with their core motivations. The problem is that most people don't understand what motivates them, or even if they do know, they don't know what to do about it. That's why we wrote What Motivates Me and created the Motivators Assessment. Our greatest joy in life has been in helping people change the way they look at their work in positive ways.
Let's begin by taking a journey to Florence. It's 1504. After young Michelangelo unveiled his statue of David, well, local artists complained that there were flaws. The right hand was too big, the neck was too long, and something about the left buttock was just not quite right.
The head of the Florentine Republic told Michelangelo that David's nose was a little too large. So the artist climbed back up his ladder with marble dust hidden in his hand. He then pretended to chisel on the offending nose, but in reality was simply just letting the dust fall to the ground. Sorarini then announced the nose was far more lifelike.
Michelangelo was ignoring the critics. He knew he'd created a masterpiece, but he didn't credit his achievement to his skill with a chisel. No, he believed his unique genius was in seeing possibility where others saw only a second-hand piece of rock. He said, "In every block of marble, I see a statue as plain as though it stood before me. I have only to hew away the rough walls that imprison it."
There is a lesson in this story for all of us. If we want to be happily engaged in our work and performing at our fullest potential, we've got to look inside ourselves to understand what truly motivates us. Our research shows that all of us host a unique blend of motivators. They are core drivers that should guide us in sculpting the work life that's right for us.
So, we ask you, what are you doing exactly on those days when you're excited and energized in your work, when you have that skip in your step? Only when we identify those drivers can we begin to chip away what constrains us and unleash our full potential, our best ideas, and our productive power. Only then can we silence the critics around us and realize happiness is about aligning the work you do every day with what motivates you.
Is that Michelangelo saw possibilities where others saw flaws or mistakes. And oftentimes we're stuck in jobs that someone else sculpted for us. I always wanted to be a teacher when I was a child, but the demand for teachers was low when I was heading to college, so my parents discouraged me from becoming a teacher. This class teaches us to look past into our past and not to listen to those voices, but to discover, to look within and see who we really are at the core and look into others and discover who they really are at the core and live within our true identities. So I want to ask a question, and so there is going to be participation in this webinar. It's not going to be just one way, you listening to me. So find your Q&A box. And I want to pose this question: what are you doing on the days when you are most engaged, energized, and have that skip in your step at work? So could we just take a quick moment and receive some audience participation? Solving problems. That's a great one. Anything else? Maybe some of you enjoy challenge. I was with a guy, I did this class on Monday for a federal government agency, and the one guy is totally jazzed by pressure. He loves coming into work to high pressure. He's totally engaged when he has high-pressure situations. Okay, so just think about that for yourself, what you're doing on the days when you are most engaged at work. And you might want to make a list of those things, because that's we're just gathering intelligence about ourselves. And when we have this intelligence and we know who we are and what we're doing on those days when we're most engaged, we can use that to help sculpt our jobs for the future. So in the video, Michelangelo said, "In every block of marble, I see a statue as plain as though it stood before me. I have only to hew away the rough walls that imprison it." See, there's a great lesson in this story for many of us. If we want to be happily engaged in our work and performing at our fullest potential, we've got to look inside ourselves to understand what truly motivates us. Then, like Wonder Woman or Luke Skywalker, we have to believe in ourselves. Michelangelo knew that he created a masterpiece, yet there were many critics. He never doubted himself. Instead, he used his hidden superpower to silence the critics. Instead of reshaping his work of art, he reshaped their negative thinking. See, each of us are a unique work of art. We're shaped with talents and motivators. Each person on our teams are uniquely shaped, too, to do great things with their talents and motivators. Perhaps they are just diamonds in the rough, waiting to be etched into valuable treasures. And that's how I want you to view yourself today, to first see your own potential and then see the potential in others. Because far too many people are casting about in confusion for what would make them more successful and happier at work. And I know that because I am out all the time at trade shows and various events, and people just come up to me, and they're just like, how can I do what you do? I want to love my job. They're just stuck. Far too many people know that they're not productive, they're not motivated, and they're longing to do something more. So we can help them see. We can see in them what they can't see in themselves. So today I want to inspire you to embark on this hero's journey, be the superhero, believe in the power within, and then help others. The book, What Motivates Me, which is what this is based on one of the largest, most statistically valid studies on workplace engagement. The Motivator assessment that I'm going to talk about was built by Dr. Travis Bradbury and gang at the Emotional Intelligence 2.0 Talent Smart organization. Now, do you remember how large the study was? Adrian and Chester mentioned it in the video. It was a 10-year study of 850,000 people. That's a very large study. So they called this data, they had all this data from these 850,000 people that they worked with over the years. And they went to Talent Smart, Dr. Bradbury and his organization, and they wanted them to help narrow this data down. So they had three goals in mind. They wanted to know what helps people feel engaged, enabled, and energized in their work. What is it that makes people want to quit a job? And what factors increase or decrease levels of motivation? So after calling all this data, they administered an assessment to 761 individuals around the world trying to figure out the answers to these three questions. And the result was actually they came up with 23 core motivators that we're going to talk about in a moment that they saw across all individuals that they studied from this group of 761. Now, if you are not jazzed with your job, if you don't really dig what you do, you're not alone, because this is a global crisis. According to the Conference Board, more than 50% of all U.S. workers are unhappy in their jobs, which is an all-time low. And according to Gallup, 87% of world's workers are not engaged or actively disengaged. And I actually subscribe to Gallup. Has a you can receive their weekly digest, and they're continually producing research that shows the disengagement of workers, and it just consistently in the U.S. tends to be around 50%, worldwide 87%. And so really this is an issue that we need to improve and work on improving, and we're just excited that we can help organizations improve engagement, because disengagement is very costly to organizations. Gallup has found that It costs companies 11% in lost productivity. $9,000 of the average $78,000 salary is wasted on disengaged employees. In addition, there's things that they can't put a price tag on, such as increased workers' comp claims, greater turnover, and how much does it cost to hire and onboard new employees so you train them and do everything to get them up to speed in their jobs. It's very expensive. And who's leaving the company? Who's leaving the organizations? It's the highly talented people. It's people like me who walked away from Harlan Clark. Surely they didn't want to lose me because I was a top producing sales rep, but I was sick of it. I could walk away and I could do my own thing. So it's not the people who are talented who are it's not the people who are talented who are sticking around. It's the ones you want to leave who stick around and don't leave. So there's a high cost for replacing talented individuals. Why is engagement important? Well, because engaged employees produce higher quality work, greater output, and earn higher incomes. Who doesn't want to earn more money? I sure do. And engaged employees, people who love their jobs, are 150% more likely to have a happier life overall. And I don't know about you, but that drives me. 150% happier in life overall. Maybe it looks like this, standing in the middle of a field of wildflowers. Or maybe it looks like this, standing free on a mountaintop. Or perhaps it looks like this, a beard full of bees. Whatever drives you, whatever floats your boat, all that matters is that you're happy in your life. So here's another question I'm going to pose, and you can put up some answers in the Q&A. What are some benefits you could gain from understanding your motivators and what motivates your people? What do you think are some things that you could gain if you understood what drives you or what drives your team? Where people are a best fit, great. Job satisfaction. Love coming to work on Monday. Enjoy your team. Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits actually that we can gain from understanding our motivators and by understanding where people fit. And you know what? It doesn't require a major career transition. I am not here today to tell you you need to do what I did and make a career transition. It doesn't require quitting your job to find a dream job like I did. You know, I was just at a place in life where I was ready to do that, and maybe you are too, and maybe that is the answer. But it's not necessary to become fully engaged. What it does mean is to make changes in our work lives. So we can't just stay stuck. We need to get on that hero's journey, like Luke Skywalker, get past the naysayers and make the changes, step out of our comfort zone, step into the unfamiliar, and just make some course corrections along the way. What are some words that you would use? This is another question. Come on, join in the Q&A and participate so that you don't just have to listen to me talk. What are some words that you would use to describe what motivates you? Are you motivated by money? Are you motivated by ethics? How about, somebody said earlier, problem solving? What are some words that you would use to describe what motivates you? New projects, travel, learning something new, friends, being appreciated. Great answers. why do the words, you notice that these words differ? Friends, being appreciated, new projects, challenges, travel, learning. Why do the words that we use differ from each other? It's because we, as individuals, differ enormously in what makes us happy. For some, it's competition. For some, it's winning. For some, it's money. For some, it's feeling competent. For some, it's friends, socializing, travel. I love travel too. You know, we're all individuals and we're all wired differently. A hospital CEO said, what motivates a labor and delivery nurse is vastly different from an emergency room or an oncology nurse, but we've been treating them all the same. We need to understand what really motivates someone and give each nurse specific assignments they'll find motivating. And I know on this call today we have engineers. We have all different kinds of engineers. And you're motivated by different things. And so we can't fit a round peg in a square hole. We can't say that just because I'm an engineer, I'm wired by challenge, or I want to solve problems. You know, maybe you're an engineer who wants to make impact. We just have all different kinds of things that jazz us in our jobs, and because we're all individuals. So let's talk about what does engage employees. And I want to just talk about three things. I want you to understand individual motivators, how to develop your people, and then finally we'll end up with praise, effort, and reward results. So let's talk about understand your individual motivators. The most engaged and energized employees have aligned their work with their motivators. So I want to talk about personality. There's three things. Personality, that's who we are, okay? Who we are at the core. So you may have done Myers-Briggs. You may have done DISC to determine who you are as a person. So when you know who you are as a person, when you know your strengths, that's what you're good at, and when you know your motivators, what your passions are, and they all come together, you will be able to identify what you really want to do. So when I was going through this whole career transition thing myself, I just sat down and I thought, okay, so this is my personality. I'm an ENFJ. I love being around people. In my DISC, I am a high ID, so I know I need to be with people. People are like a huge part of my life. I just want to be around people. I want to be influencing people. So I knew who I was as a person. You may be familiar with Gallup Strength Finders, Clifton Strength Finders. I knew what my strengths were. I knew that I was a good communicator. I knew that I was an activator. I knew that I was a motivator. I knew what my strengths were. Well, the missing piece for me was I didn't have this motivator assessment to know what motivated me. So when we know all of these things, it's great intelligence, whether you're going to use it in your current position as you sculpt your job for the future, or whether you're stepping outside. But knowing who I was at the core, I was able to interview the organizations that were interviewing me to make sure that the position that I was hiring for was a good fit for me. So for me, it was about the job fitting me as much as it was about me being a fit for the organization. And I want to just say something else. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you're motivated by it. So, for example, I'm a really good communicator, and people say to me, oh, you'd be so good at, you'd be so good at sales, you'd be really good at cold calling because people, you have a friendly voice. But you know what? I'm not jazzed to do that. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it. You know, I'm a really good communicator. I'll keep coming back to that, but I can't present technical data. I can present inspiring presentations like this. So you just kind of have to find out how your personality, your strengths, and your motivators can all play together to become, to live to your fullest potential. So let's talk about this motivator assessment for a minute. This motivator assessment that I talked about that was actually developed by Talent Smart for the CultureWorks and the 23 core motivators. So of all the data that they called, here is the list of the 23 3 motivators that they found across the board. Now take a moment and look at this list and see what you think your top motivators would be. Are you motivated by impact? Social responsibility? What jazzes you? You get up in the morning and long for pressure. Or how about prestige? Do you want a prestigious job? Do you want to drive around in an expensive car? Do you want people to notice your big house and your country club membership? Or are you, perhaps somebody mentioned friendship. You see that's on the list. Or maybe it's excelling, or you just want to do your best. So what we're going to do at the end of the presentation today, after we wrap up, I'm going to send everyone who participates in this webinar an assessment code so that you can take your own motivator assessment and find out what really drives you. What they did was, after they identified these top 23, they grouped them to 5 identities: the achievers, the builders, the caregivers, the reward-driven, and the thinkers. So you'll find out through the assessment, you'll find out what your top 7 motivators are, your moderate motivators as well as your neutral. So none of them are bad. It's neither good nor bad. It just is, and it's how you're wired, and it's all good. So the identities actually are, your identities are based on how many of each of these motivators you have. So for example, my number 1 is the caregiver, because I have all 3 of those: empathy, family, and fun in my as my top motivators. My secondary is thinker, because I have creativity, impact, learning, and variety. I also have the achiever as an identity, and that's just based on my secondary or my moderate motivators. So I'm going to show you the identities and the percentage of people that fall into them. 40% of the population are thinkers, 27% caregivers. I don't like that term because it makes me feel like I'm like a nurturer or want to just be at home, but that's what they gave it, and that's what it is. 14% are achievers, 12% are builders, and 7% are reward-driven. That's a population, and this is what my motivator assessment profile looks like. So you can see that family is my number 1, creativity is my number 2, and impact, learning, empathy, variety, and fun. So I am most motivated at work when I'm doing these things. So one of the things you might be wondering, well, how did you sculpt your job? I happen to work for a guy who is very open to this kind of thing. And one of the things that I did was everywhere we go, people notice my jewelry. And it's just the most bizarre thing, because I can be doing a presentation and ask a question, and somebody will say, somebody in response will raise their hand and say, well, I don't have a question relative to this, but where'd you get that necklace? And so my boss would say, can we just go one place where people don't comment on your jewelry? And I said, you know what, let's use that to our advantage. Give me a bling budget. So my boss actually has given me a bling budget, and so when I do presentations, I am able, or go to events, I'm able to give out bling. So I always tie it to something fun, like I'll write an article, for example, I wrote an article on trust. And I sent that article to a group of people that we were going to be meeting at an event, and I said, if you come to our booth at this event, and you tell me one thing that resonated with you from the article on trust, I will give you a piece of my bling. And so I was able to buy these little heart bracelets that I gave away to remind them that trust is the heart of a leader. So that's one of the ways that I have used my creativity and fun and build it into my job. And, you know, so you'll get your assessment profile, and then what we'll do is, so you'll get the code to take your own individual assessment, and then we're going to offer you like a debrief so that you'll be able to join us on another webinar in November to learn how to put your motivators to work. So what if you knew each member of your team's motivators and identities? What would it be like? Think about the impact on employee engagement, team performance, work relationships, diversity of thought. Let's talk about developing your people. Evaluating your team's motivational diversity, sculpting your team to achieve engagements, and recognizing others for their engagements. So this is one of the things that we do for teams when we go into organizations and teach what motivates me. This is a team profile, and it happens to be our team. Paul is our leader. So you can see that 4 people on our team are jazzed by learning, and that's Paul's #1 motivator. So if Paul gives the 4 of us a book to read, we're likely to read it because we're jazzed by learning. However, David happens to be his brother. He happens to be the president of our Western Division. You can see that learning is his least, his 23rd, it's his bottom motivator. So when Paul gives David a book to read, what do you think happens to it? It sits on a pile on his desk, never opened, because David is not motivated to read a book. Now you can see that 4 of us are also motivated by fun. So that means that 3 of us are not. So knowing this, we have to be careful when we have team meetings that we're not having too much fun, that we're meeting the needs of the other people on our team. You can see that 4 of us are motivated by family. So you can see from this report synergies, but you can also see cautions. So Tim happens to be our millennial, and Tim is motivated, his #1 motivator is challenge. None of us, well, Clark has challenge as his 7th, but how do we keep this millennial engaged? How do we make sure that he's challenged in his job? So you can use, by looking at this team motivator profile, which we do for intact teams when we do the team training, you can tell how to help the individuals on your team do more of what they love. Another great example would be, don't assign me work that's going to be problem solving or challenge, because that doesn't jazz me. Give me creativity and fun, and I'll be most motivated. So it can be a give and take as you look at your team profile and you think about how can I reassign tasks so that my team is fully engaged. Don't give Tim creativity and fun, because he's not going to be motivated by that. But if you give him the challenge, if you give him all of the database stuff and the problem-solving stuff, he is going to be fully engaged in his job. So do you see how that can be a powerful tool to understand your team motivators, how you can put that to work? Old school is we treat everyone fairly and consistently. And I remember this from back even when I was hired in at Pearson back in the early 90s. And, you know, I wanted to work from home on some days, you know, days when my kids were sick or they had a snow day or whatever. Oh, no, we can't do that because it might set a precedent. We don't want everybody to be able to do that. Well, that's old school thinking, that we treat everybody fairly and consistently. New school is we treat people as individuals. So you saw that my #1 motivator is family. I'm going to be most motivated if I can take care of my family first. We treat people as individuals. Not everybody needs to or wants to work from home on a sick day or a snow day. People have, you know, it's not about setting a precedent. It's about helping people to feel like they fit. So develop your people. Zig Ziglar said, you can have anything you want in life if you will just help other people get what they want. And I am a firm believer of that. If you want to be a superhero at work, you just need to help other people get what they want, and you will be a superhero when you do that. So how can we do that? Let's just talk about the manager-employee partnership, because it's a two-way street. It's not just about what the manager wants or what the employee wants. It's about holding crucial conversations really are engagement conversations. The employee comes in and shares his or her aspirations, and the manager listens. So to be an effective manager, you need to listen and seek to understand. The employee is seeking growth. How can you help that individual grow? The employee wants feedback. You share feedback, but you share it in a positive way, in a way that's not critical, in a way that builds up. I like to talk about it as constructive feedback. Constructive feedback builds up. Criticism tears down. How can you share feedback? Because your employees need feedback. How can you share that feedback? And even if it's not your employee, but if it's somebody that you're helping along the way, if it's a friend, if it's a spouse, we need feedback. How can you share it? Identify resources. Help them to identify what they need. For example, my writing coach said you need to join Toastmasters. You need to join Toastmasters so that you can develop your communication skills. So help people identify the resources that they need to do what motivates them. And then work together to find a balanced approach. It's a win-win for everybody. You have engaged employees, which means engagement for your company, higher productivity, all around increased profitability. So it's a win-win for everybody when the manager and employee are in partnership. So the impact of impact, I love this story about NASA. NASA, their vision, they have the highest level of employee engagement in the federal government, and their vision is to reach for new heights and reveal the unknown so that what we do and learn will benefit all humankind. And there's a story about impact. John F. Kennedy visited NASA during the race to the moon. And while touring the facility, he introduced himself to a janitor who was mopping the floor, and he asked him what he did at NASA, and the janitor replied, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." You see, the janitor got it. He understood the vision and his part in it, and he had a purpose. He wanted the scientists to be able to focus on their jobs and not have to mop floors and empty trash cans and clean bathrooms. So emptying the trash, mopping the floors was a job that he could do, and in doing it, he helped put a man on the moon. He's engaged, and he's energized. He knows the truth, and he believes the truth, and he's using his superpower within him. And he was making an impact. He was having an impact on impact. He helped put a man on the moon. He knew his role, and that is huge. So engaging leaders display genuine care and concern for their people. They care about performance as much as their people, and they learn what motivates each of their team members. You can't fit a square peg in a round hole when everyone is individually different. So I want to wrap up with some ways to praise effort and reward results, because when we looked at Luke Skywalker, he was rewarded for his effort by giving his sword. And so how can we give our people their sword and their reward and the rewards that will motivate them? So Gallup says that employees who don't feel rewarded for their work are 2 times more likely to leave within a year. We just recently did a culture vitality survey for an organization, and we went in and we were interviewing some of the people at the company, and they said our leaders don't recognize us. They only tell us when we do something wrong. They never tell us when we do something right. And so employees who don't feel rewarded are 2 times more likely to leave within a year. So praise effort. Remember when you were a kid and you learned how to ride a bike? How did you learn? Mom or dad rode alongside of you and encouraged you. You can do it. Keep pedaling. You're doing great. They praised your effort until you were riding your bike with confidence all over the neighborhood. They were your superhero. They were your Obi-Wan Kenobis, projecting the power of praise, believing in you when you didn't believe in yourself. So praise effort, and then Reward results. Now, we're just coming out of the Olympics. When did the Olympians get rewarded? When did they get their prize? It was immediate. So make sure recognition is immediate. We have the Women's World Cup. Again, they got immediate celebration of their success. And everybody's, we need to look at, when we know what motivates people, the way we recognize them will be different. So, like, if we know that our team, that somebody is motivated by learning, maybe we want to give them an Amazon gift card. It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be a high value, but that person can go buy a book. They don't want a trophy. They don't want something to sit on their shelf, perhaps. They're motivated by they're motivated by learning. Or how about if somebody is motivated by family, give them an hour off. Let them work from home on a snow day, because they're going to be happier overall in their job if you find out ways to reward them that will match their motivators. So let's talk for a moment about Yum Brand, better known as Taco Bell, Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Pizza Hut. They have consistently grown by 20% annually. David Novak is the chairman. He's been elected to the screen, and one of the things he requires of his managers is that they get to know their employees' motivators, and they develop meaningful recognition around them. So, if someone's motivated by fun, throw a party, bring in a treat to celebrate their success. Other people don't want to be recognized. There's people who would rather not be in the limelight. So don't put them in the limelight. Do something quiet for them, but acknowledge them. If someone is motivated by impact, write them a note and tell them the impact their effort had on the organization. Writing thank you notes, that's a thing of the past. People just don't do it anymore. And so when you get a thank you note, what do you do with it? You probably keep it. Put it on your desk for a while because it means something, because it's so rare. So take time, write a handwritten thank you note, and people will remember. I actually take all the thank you notes that come to me, all the encouraging notes that come to me, and I just put them in a basket or in a box and just let them flow up over time, just fill this up, and before long I have a bouquet full of thank you notes. And it's just anytime I'm down in the dumps or feeling negative about myself, I can pull out one of those cards and read it and remind myself that I'm appreciated. So David Novak, the founder of Yum, he came up with a Walk the Talk Award. And whenever he hears of an employee who has fulfilled a promise, he awards them a set of chattering teeth. They pick these up for very little money at a novelty store. So whenever someone sees a set of chattering teeth, everyone knows that the recipient walked the talk. See, it's not the price of the prize, it's the thought and the timing of it that makes it so valuable. Even when I give away the bling, it's not expensive stuff. It's all dime store jewelry that I've picked up for under $5. It's the thought, and people love to receive it. So I just want to challenge you to praise effort. It doesn't cost a dime to tell someone they've done a nice job. Keep praising the effort until you get the results you want, and then celebrate. Be the superhero who cheers your team on, empowering them with truth and praise. Restore peace instead of friction to your workplace. Fight for justice for your people, and soon your team will be fully engaged and energized and be great. So that pretty much wraps up my presentation today. I talked about understanding your individual motivators, the importance of that, developing your team, and praising effort and rewarding results. The most engaged employees at work are 150% more likely to have a happier life overall, and I hope that you will be one of the happiest employees out there. So the next steps, we're going to give you a complimentary assessment code that's going to come from me following this call. We're also going to give you the opportunity to buy the book for $15 today. Now, Insight, we're a small firm. There's just 7 of us, so we don't have an electronic shopping cart. So if you want to buy the book for $15, I'm going to attach an order form to the email that I send. Just let me know that you want to purchase it, and I will then call you for your credit card number, and you just put all your shipping information, your billing information, except for your credit card on that form, and then we'll get that out to you right away. And to put your motivators to work, on November the 10th, we're going to hold another webinar through SAME, where we'll walk you through your motivator assessment report and how to use those motivators and sculpt your job so that you can do more of what you love and less of what frustrates you. And finally, if you want to, if you'd like more information on how to bring what motivates me to your workplace, here's my contact information. Please reach out to me. I know my time is up right now. I went right to the top of the hour, but I don't have to jump off the line right away. If you have any questions at this point, why don't you type them in the Q&A box, and I'll just hold on here for a few more minutes and see if there's any questions that I can answer for you about the program. And if you have to jump off, thank you so much for joining. Okay, so we have a question. What if my manager doesn't let me tailor my job to fit? Well, you know, and that could be the case. So one of the things that we do in the class is we teach you how to hold those crucial conversations and accountability conversations with your leaders. There's also engagement conversations. You know, if you found out that your manager says, like, for example, for me, if Paul said I have to be on the phone every day, I don't want to do that. So you know what? What you're doing is you have the conversation, and it might not go the way you want it to go, but that's okay because you're getting information. You know, then you realize that your boss doesn't really care, or maybe you need to find other things that you can do to make your job more exciting. A guy that I was with on Monday doing this, he happens to be a senior leader at an organization, and he's like, I just can't stand doing performance reviews, but I can't get rid of them. And, you know, I said, well, what if you changed the way you looked at them? You know, because he's seeing it as I got to give people negative feedback, and I don't want to give people negative feedback. So what if you changed the way you looked at it, I said, and what if you saw it as giving people, helping people? And instead of giving them criticism, what if you give them constructive feedback? What if you, like, pointed out everything that they did well and then told them one or two things that they could work on professionally to become better at what they do? Would that feel a lot better? He's like, I never thought about it like that. So sometimes, you know, if your boss, if your manager won't let you sculpt your job, you need to be creative and think about ways that you can change it to make it more engaging. And you know what? If it's something that you absolutely hate to do, you have the intelligence. Now you know your boss isn't going to bend. Maybe it's time that you need to leave. So it's not always that you get to stay or that you have to stay. Sometimes the hero has to leave and step out and go elsewhere if it's not going to be a good fit. So, you know, if you want to learn more about how to hold those dicey conversations, we can help you with that through the actual program. So here's another question. Why isn't loyalty on the list of motivators? That's a good question. Well, you know what? There's a lot of things. When I looked at that list of 23, I thought, well, I think my number one motivator is faith. Why isn't that on the list? That's what drives me, primarily. Well, so the reason that loyalty and other things that you might think are strong motivators, or your strong motivators, aren't on the list is because they called this data and came up with the 23 top motivators. So that doesn't mean that there's not other things that motivate you. It just is the population. Out of the entire population, these are the top 23. So that's the reason that loyalty is not on it, but loyalty could still be something that drives you and is something that you should take into consideration.